welcome back.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Doing pretty well myself. Really excited about today's episode.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we've decided to answer a question from one of our very special listeners, Michelle from Tennessee.
Yep,
Yeah, want to say hi. Thanks for reaching out to us
yep,
on the Facebook.
yep. Thanks for reaching out, Michelle. We will answer your question today.
Yeah, Michelle wanted to know why did we stay in our narcissistic abuse relationships? And I thought that was a pretty deep, heavy question.
Hmm.
We did
Complicated.
reply to her on Facebook, but yeah, we thought we would make an entire episode out of this
Yeah,
because
it's a very complicated
yes,
question.
it is, and yeah, it was kind of tricky to try to answer like in completeness, I guess,
Mm.
because there's so many different
Aspects.
yeah, and we have two different experiences, Tiffany and I,
Mm-hmm.
and that in itself was a pretty challenging way of trying to communicate. But I guess Michelle, she's in a similar type of situation, and she wanted to know,
Mm.
like, is she experiencing a similar thing as well? So
Yep,
I think we've been helpful.
yep,
But
me
yeah,
too.
today we're going to talk about our experiences, just so that other people can appreciate how challenging it is to leave a narcissistic, abusive relationship. Yeah, so I think I'll go first.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah. Um, my challenge was I didn't know I was in a narcissistic abusive relationship.
Yeah, that's
That's
a pretty big one.
yeah, that's why I didn't leave.
You don't know what you don't know.
I didn't know. What I did know was that I wasn't comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I was angry a lot. I felt often like hurt
Mm-hmm.
and also like it was my fault.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the time I felt like I had done something wrong and I had to fix it.
Yep.
And that was constantly being reinforced to me in many different ways. Like people would say things to me like, "Oh, you should do this for her." Or did you get her flowers?
Mm-hmm.
Did you take her to a nice dinner? When is the last time you went on a nice holiday? There were so many things that were parroted to me over and over again. Like, and I thought, like, "Man, you're probably just messing this up, You're not
Mm-hmm.
getting this right." And I just didn't know what I was involved
Mm-hmm.
in. And the isolation that that I was experiencing as well, because I was, in this relationship where they cut your other friends off.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're not comfortable with a person, they find a way to get rid of that person.
Yep.
So let's say, you have another female friend, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and, she'll say things like, "Oh, I just don't like how she looks at you," or, "I just don't like how she talks to you." So you get rid of the person just to make them happy because
Yep.
you don't want them to be jealous or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They'll accuse you of potentially cheating or having some sort of emotional attachment to a person.
Yeah, classic.
Yep. So those are some of the things I experience. And then if the person is male and they're just a good buddy, but they're making you think about your situation,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
They
that's
get
a.
rid of them as well by saying things like, "I don't like how he looks at me. I
Mm-hmm.
think your friend is hitting on me." And again, you start to feel like, oh, you gotta get rid of this person because, well, they're being disrespectful,
Mm-hmm.
to your partner, right?
Yep.
So those were, the situation I was in, and then the environment. So we were both in a religious type organization situation,
Mm-hmm.
aka church, and all these other church people, how they treat marriage and that kind of stuff. It's really sacred, and you
Mm-hmm.
promise stuff before God, and therefore you're responsible because you're the man
Mm-hmm.
and you're the head of the household, even though nobody ever followed my lead on anything. But I always had to go report back to somebody else that she complained to, because pastor or whoever else had a lot more power
Yeah.
than I did, apparently. So, yeah, you find yourself in this environment of isolation where you can't test your truth.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're feeling uncomfortable, you feel stuck. you really want this to work because you want to work on this relationship and get it going and get it working for you. You want to be happy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not. It doesn't work for you.
Right.
You're just stuck in the environment and everybody's telling you the same thing, and you do not know that you are being abused.
Yeah, because the abuse is normalized.
Yes. And so that was the prime reason I didn't leave. I didn't know I was in an abusive relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's only when I, started to do research outside of it,
Yep.
and then I had a friend or two outside of it that thought different.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to discover there are other types of relationships where people don't live the way how I was living,
Mm-hmm.
and then you discover the word narcissist.
Yep. I remember when I discovered it.
Yeah, I didn't know that that was a thing either back then.
Nope.
So yeah, for 20 something years,
Mm-hmm.
I was stuck thinking that I was the problem. I was just not a good enough husband, and I didn't pray enough and do enough godly things and spend enough money to hold on to my family. And then I discovered, yeah, you're being abused. Once you discover you're being abused, it changes everything.
Oh yeah, you can't unsee it after that.
Yes,
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
everything became like, whoa, hold on now.
Now, it's like denial. You go through denial, like, oh no, that's not what it is.
Yeah, the initial stages when like little scenarios were presented to me
Mm-hmm.
by a good friend of mine. Like, yeah, maybe just chatting, and she would say things like, "That sounds pretty abusive," and it's like, no, 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 it was, and I used to make all the kind of excuses for it.
Mm-hmm.
I would reclassify the behavior,
Mm-hmm.
justify the behavior,
Oh,
and
maybe they're just having a bad day,
exactly, yeah, and I'll make up stories in my mind
and mm-hmm.
to justify that. Well, she really loves me, so
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah, you
know,
believe that.
yeah,
You fully believe that they love you.
absolutely. So yeah, that's one of the key reasons why I stayed. I didn't know I was being abused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just felt bad all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, I started to get angrier and angrier, and which made me seem more sinful. And then everybody started to think that I was cheating or I was doing something wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that type of person. I don't cheat. So I was confused
Mm-hmm.
and constantly depressed then as a result of it because I had no outlet. I had
Mm-hmm.
no way of having a logical conversation with anyone.
Yep.
If you went to counseling, you went to counseling with a person from the religion.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying, right? And then they give you the religious solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, we could just pray it away.
Yeah.
So you don't really get any
Mm-hmm.
true mental health like expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Is always some spiritual,
Yeah.
thing.
Or it's a
Uh,
communication issue. You just need to
absolutely.
communicate better.
Yes, we were both instructed to read that book. I think some of men are from Mars and women are from Venus. And then when that didn't work, it was the one on love languages.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to listen to this program called Focus on the Family.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a whole set of religious stuff that was just being shoved down my throat, as a solution for why my relationship wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the moment that I started to talk to a functional person outside of that community,
Mm-hmm.
outside of that space, it was like they could just recognize it right away. They were like, "Oh, I'm familiar with that. Um, that's this thing," and I'd be like, "Nah, nah, that can't be it.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make any sense to me." And then I started my research, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, "Ooh."
Mm-hmm.
Like you go on YouTube, right? And there's this lady, Dr. Romani. She's amazing, by the
Yes.
way.
Yes, she is.
Absolutely
I love
wonderful.
her.
Um, oh, she's really good. And I started watching her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that really blew my mind was that it was predictable in terms of
Yes.
how she would describe it, right? Because
Yep.
it's a sickness that they have.
Yep. The
The
patterns.
patterns are the same,
Mm-hmm.
It was no longer, no, you're in this peculiar relationship, then you need to work harder on it because they tell you, oh, marriage is hard.
Yep.
Yeah, marriage is hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a very similar actually experience where I didn't know with the first one, especially actually with both of them, but we'll start with the first because that was the first. I didn't know. I didn't know I was being abused.
Hmm.
And like you, I had no idea what the word narcissist even meant. I didn't even know it was a word. And the way I started learning about it was just getting like articles on my Facebook, like they ask questions, are you with a narcissist and stuff like that.
They just started showing up.
Yeah. Yeah, they just started showing up, which
Oh,
is
on the Facebook, eh?
on the Facebook, yeah. The one and only. Yeah. So I started reading articles and taking tests and
So it's like a Vanity Fair thing then? Like,
uh
was it Cosmopolitan? I'm trying to
it's
think of.
like a little bit further back than
Oh, okay.
Facebook.
Now, I remember like when I was younger, there would be these magazines and they would ask us questions.
Cosmo, how to
Right,
please a man.
yeah, right, yeah, that kind of stuff. I was just wondering if it was like that. I just like that's an interesting discovery. That's just saying like Google could not have been predicting that. That's time.
Well, no, no, the
Yeah,
technology wasn't like it is now.
yeah.
So yeah, I started reading these articles, and then I was like, okay, well, I can see how he has a few tendencies, but he's not a full blown narcissist. No, no, that can't be. No,
Mm,
he does some of that, but it's not all of it. And the more I read, the more I realized, um, yeah, this is what it is.
well,
And luckily, I had a friend
mm,
who was an employee of this guy,
mm,
and we got along really, really good right off the bat. We just had an instant connection,
okay.
and but it was a rule that I couldn't be friends with the employees.
Mm,
So he tried to stop me from like being her friend, even though we worked together
that's
all
part of
day.
the control, part of the
Oh
isolation.
yeah,
Kind of
absolutely.
difficult
Yeah,
to implement that one,
like
but
you
yeah,
said, they don't want you to talk to people
yeah.
that could tell you things
Oh no,
about what
definitely
you're going
not.
through.
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
a threat to them. So that's why he didn't want me to hang out with her outside of work.
Fraternizing
Hmm.
with the employees, eh?
Yeah, it's like you can't be friends with the help.
You would get paid and they're not. But anyway, that's hilarious.
Yeah, so luckily, like, she saw everything. Like, she knew what a narcissist looked like. Like, her
Oh,
mother was one, so she had
wow.
experience with them, and I had none. And she actually pointed out a lot of the things to me that I never realized because the abuse had become normal.
Mm,
And um, yeah, so that was the first one. And the reason I stayed as long as I did, for one thing, I got married very young.
mm,
I was 20 years old when I got married. So
interesting.
I was like pretty much from my mother's place to his. So I didn't have the real world experience, I guess.
That's a very good point you made there, though, because I got married, I think I was 24, which is very young
Hmm.
for male, but pretty normal if you're in a religious setting.
Yeah.
Because, if you want to have permission to have sex from God, you
Right.
have to
You have to
do
get
it in the
married
yeah
first.
in the confines of a marriage. And use the word confines, I should have really ran because clearly you're in prison now.
Well, they don't call it the old ball and chain for nothing.
I know, right? Which is kind of difficult when you're black, but yeah.
I could see that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a little challenging, If I don't want to
uh,
get back on another boat again, no balls
some
or chains or nothing.
ancestral trauma
Yeah,
there.
definitely. Anyway, but yeah, I was married young, and that was also part of my trap.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like at 20, your brain isn't even fully developed yet.
you're telling me. Uh,
So yeah, so that was a big thing
hmm
going against me. Another thing, well, he knew that I was young and impressionable, so he took advantage of that, of course. Never had my own finances. It was always his income. I wasn't permitted to get a job because it wouldn't have made a difference, according to him. And so I didn't have my own bank account. It was always a joint account. So I had no control over my finances.
Mm-hmm.
That was another reason I stayed. Um, he actually he told me that nobody would love me the way he loved me, which later on I found out was a complete lie because narc number two loved me the same way. I believed it at the time, and I'm like,
That's love. Like that's you're gonna say that somebody else really loved you, but okay, guys.
no, not at that point, no.
We gotta sell that joke, man.
Yeah, so the decision thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing he got me on. Well, this is number well, no, both of them. But I remember the most from the second one. So whenever I would make a decision
Mm-hmm.
on my own, he would always say something or whatever to tell me that it was a bad decision or a wrong decision.
Mm-hmm.
So any decision I made all on my own, it was either bad or wrong in his eyes. And he was not shy to tell me, well, you shouldn't have done that. You should have done this instead. Something as stupid as going to one grocery store
Mm-hmm.
and paying a little bit more for this particular item than going to
Mm-hmm.
another store. So I went to this store, I bought this thing, I bring it home. Oh, why did you go there? You could have gone here. Like it's way cheaper here. You shouldn't have gone to that one.
Oh,
So they do these things to teach you that you can't make a decision for yourself. You need them to make decisions for you because you're not capable.
yeah.
Because anytime you make a decision on your own, it's bad or wrong.
Yeah, one of my programmings came about. Well, I noticed it because it was already in place. So I'll be like, we'll be watching television together, and I'll get sleepy and decide, just gonna go to bed. It's just
Mm,
upstairs, in the same house. Where are you going? What? What do you mean? Where are you going? Oh, I'm just going to bed. And you didn't tell me?
oh
I was
God.
like, wow, I didn't know I needed to tell you. I'm going to bed. What's that? No, it's the problem with you. You just get up and leave me down here, and you
Oh
didn't tell
God.
me you were going to bed, and it's like I'm just going to bed. I'm just sleepy,
It's like you're like driving in the middle of nowhere and just kicked her out of the car and left.
no, I just wanted to go up the stairs and
It's
go
like
to
dramatic.
sleep. I think I was already falling to sleep on the sofa, so
Mm,
it's like I'm just gonna go upstairs and go to bed. Well, you should tell me so I can come and go with you. It's like I'm going to sleep. Maybe thought if we go to hold hands and be in dreams together or something.
skip stairs.
That's what I'm thinking, right? But like, apparently, it was really offensive for me to make decisions that did not include them,
Yep.
like going to bed.
Yep.
And it's not like, like, yeah, we want to go get that mojo on
Mm,
or something. It's like, no, there's no invitation. I'm
yep.
not interested in
You're
that. I'm just
tired.
really sleepy.
Mhm.
And it was like a frustration. The other one that would happen would be, so you're talking about grocery store. So let's just say I was gonna cook something and I realized, oh man, I don't have enough oil, or could do with some salt or something, and I
Mm,
decide I'll just pop out and get some. Whoa!
no, you can't do that.
I just can't leave.
Oh.
Like if I just got in the car and drove away, like I don't think 2 minutes would go by very quickly before I get a phone call. Where are you? Oh, I'm just going to the grocery store. I'll be right back. What? You didn't say anything. Well, what did you want me to say? Like, you mean every time I'm leaving home, I have to tell you where I'm going?
Hmm.
Well, no, don't make it sound like that. When you say it like that, it sounds stupid.
Mm, you're
Like, that's
taking it
not
the
what
wrong
I'm
way.
saying. Exactly. You're taking it the wrong way. What I'm saying is, like, I have you covered and I could have prayed for you and I'm always thinking about you. I'm really concerned. Suppose something happened to you on the
Oh God.
road and you left and I didn't know.
Mm,
Like, the pressure
uh-huh.
to have to tell them exactly where you are. all the time.
Yep.
I lived with that for years, thinking I was doing it wrong by just going off to do something, not
Mm.
realizing that I was being abused. So, yeah, that just triggered me a little bit there. I just thought I would just jump right in and share that
It's
one. It's like,
like there. It's amazing how similar our experiences are.
yeah,
The whole bedtime thing. I couldn't like. I would be falling asleep on the couch. I couldn't just get up and go to bed.
well, you too.
Like if I did, I'd be. Let's say I have to get ready for bed, so I would crawl into bed, and he would come up. You didn't tell me you were going to bed. Like, well, I was tired, so it's the exact same thing. Even like one time in the summer, it was really hot
Hmm.
in the house, so I went down to the basement to take a nap. He was sitting on the couch watching TV. I just got up, went downstairs, took a nap. Come back up after. Oh, where did you go? In the basement to take a nap. Well, you didn't let me know you went. "Oh, I can't move around freely in my own house without telling. Like this sounds a lot like that place where people go to when they commit a crime.
Yeah,
What's that?
prison.
Prison. Yes, yes. It sounds a
Yes.
lot like that to
No,
me.
you did not get a hall pass. You were not permitted to go up the stairs or leave the house, go down to the basement. You're not permitted unless you check in with them. And they program you for years.
Mm,
And that's one of the reasons you don't leave because you don't know what's happening to you. You just think like they must really love me.
mm,
Because that's how you
yeah.
reinterpret it, right? Like they
Mm-hmm.
love me so much, like even when I'm about to go up the stairs, I have to go and give them a kiss and tell them I love you. I'm just gonna be, upstairs in bed.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like stuff that I've seen on TV as well. So that makes it even creepier for me because you watch these TV shows and like the little sitcoms and
Uh,
yeah, whenever somebody's going to bed, they go kiss each other and they actually believe that that crap is real. It's just a TV show. It's
mm,
not real. But and then they set bad examples on these shows. It makes me
mm.
really upset and angry because that's not how functional people live.
But that's the point. They don't want functional people in society.
I guess not.
That's why they keep bringing out these movies and TV shows. But when's the last time you saw a TV show of a functional, happy couple?
Yeah, well, there's this one show that I think I watched recently, but again, you know, yeah,
It's rare. If
very
it's
rare.
out
Yes,
there,
it
it's
was a
rare.
one-off show,
Yeah,
and
because
and
it's the drama is funny. That's the entertainment for people is
yeah,
the drama.
it's true. It's true. Yeah, and this show was actually it was pretty good. It was about the secret. So I think that's how they ended up being functional, even though they didn't start off. The lady had issues, whatever. But like that's the closest thing I've seen to functionality. All the
Okay.
other shows that I've watched that I can, yeah, there's no functional people.
Mm,
There's always something dramatic. Like every show, the guy comes home, pours himself a glass of alcoholic beverage of some kind.
mm,
It's like, do people really do this? Like, how often do
mm.
people drink? I don't know, right? Like,
Yeah, but for my
I guess
old
that must be
world,
a thing.
yeah, my old world, that was a pretty big thing.
And
Yeah.
then they make fun of people who make smoothies. I don't get that. Well, smoothies are good for you. Like, it's cool when as soon as you get home,
Mm.
you need a drink.
So abusing yourself is cool,
Yes,
but taking
apparently.
care of yourself, that's not
They
cool
make
at
fun of
all.
you. You're granola munching, smoothie drinking.
Mhm.
Your legs are probably hairy and you wear funny shoes. I don't know. I hear them say these things.
Hairs and dreads.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, like white hippies or whatever. They do the dread thing.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No comment.
Yeah. I've
Yeah,
seen those
okay.
the like granola munching type,
I-
as they
I'll
would say.
I'll let that go. You wear your hair however you want to, man. But yeah, no, like yeah, that's the reasons that we didn't leave. We
Hmm.
didn't know. We
Yeah.
got accustomed to the abuse,
Yep.
and we thought that we were being loved.
Yep. Then apparently I didn't learn enough from the first one, so I did it again.
Well, oops. There's a song that goes right now, but yeah,
Oopsie.
yeah, well, yeah. You kind of make these mistakes because yeah, you just don't know.
Hmm.
And yeah, and in your situation, I found it interesting. Like the other one appeared to be better because you
Yes.
talked a lot about the first one.
It was a different kind of a
Yeah.
narcissist, and that's what messed me up
Hmm.
because it was like I felt the same way, but it looked different. So that
Ah.
confused me. I thought like it all looked exactly like this,
Mm.
but it's yeah, it's,
That's the thing, right? So when you're describing now, which I found, as people would ask me now that I've left,
mhm.
why did you leave? Right? So, like other people ask that question quite often. Oh, I heard this thing, and
Yeah,
oh,
when they don't know anything, right?
right. But I don't tell them too much because it's my business.
Hmm.
And a lot of the people that would have known the relationship are still on that side of the
Yeah,
world.
or on the
And they're
outside.
they're on the in the religious type community, and
Mm.
they think that um, not being in a confined relationship ordained by God is, oh, you're that means you're doing what, prostitutes now, because they always present this alternative. It's so
It's like the
ridiculous.
worst case
It's
scenario.
the worst thing ever. Like, no, you're gonna catch AIDS because you're gonna have to pay for your sex, right? And it's like,
What?
what are you talking about? Right? It's like you have to be doing the worst things now because you've decided to save yourself from abuse. And so I don't really tell much people, but every now and again somebody may say, "So, like, what happened?" And then you
Mm,
try to tell them, and it feels like if you're saying the dumbest
yeah.
thing ever because they're like, they can't see it.
Mm. Oh, you guys seem like the perfect couple.
Doesn't make any
You're
sense to
so good
them.
together.
Yes.
Like, I don't understand.
Yeah. So that in itself has been an interesting dilemma. From Michelle asking the question, "Why did we stay?"
Hmm.
and to these other people who were still involved, "Why
Hmm.
did you leave?"
Yeah.
But in both situations, yeah, it's kind of hard to explain, especially to people who ask you why you left. Like, here's the reason why I left. And to them, it seems like, oh, that sounds like a perfectly good relationship to me.
Hmm.
It seems like if you must have been cheating. That's what I get all the time.
Wow.
Every single time I try to explain my abuse, someone says to me, "So you were cheating?" And it's like, no,
Yeah.
no, I wasn't cheating. I was being abused and I became frustrated. But people get tired of each other all the time. Didn't you try this? Didn't you try that? And I'd be like, I was being abused.
Yeah. They don't care.
They don't care. They don't believe you.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to. I don't want to get in your business.
Exactly. Because then when you start to tell them the details, they're like,
Mm.
because I think what happens too, it makes them
Oh, I was
uncomfortable
just about to say that.
because they're probably experiencing the same thing
Hmm.
and living with it, and they're really, really happy or pretending to be happy.
Yeah.
Because
Convincing themselves that they're happy and
just
this is
like I
what they
used to
want.
be,
Hmm.
right?
Just like I
So,
used to be.
right. So now I'm the bad person that they've been warned about
Mm.
that's trying to ruin their marriage. Like if their marriage wasn't already ruined,
Uh-huh.
just like mine was. So
Yeah.
that's what happens to you. That's the
Mm.
reason you don't leave.
Yeah, and
That's my reason, at least.
there's a lot there's a lot more to that too. Like the first one, uh, I was young and I didn't get my license when I was a teenager
Hmm.
because I couldn't afford it and I didn't have a vehicle to drive.
Okay.
So I didn't get it. So I didn't have it by the time I met him. And this is another thing I wasn't permitted to do is to actually drive. So I
Anything that would
didn't,
lead to an escape.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
And it was a really, really hot place.
Hmm.
Well, it was Phoenix.
Hmm.
So it's in the summer. You can't step outside more than 5 minutes without cooking to death, unless you're in a pool. But yeah, I had no license, no vehicle. That was another.
Where'd you live? You live in the suburbs?
Yeah,
Yeah, so there's definitely no
yeah,
escaping.
not in the city. Yeah, you couldn't walk to anything, even in like cooler weather. There was nothing to walk to.
It's
It
too
would take
far.
like 45 minutes an hour to walk somewhere.
Wow.
And yeah, so that was another reason. Like, how am I supposed to leave when I can't even drive?
See, and here's the thing, that's why I'm really excited to have Michelle reach out to us and talk to us about this a bit because there's a lot of people out there who live in like how we used to live,
Hmm.
and they're just like under the radar kind of thing. You don't know what they're going through.
Mhm.
They don't even know what they're going through.
Yep.
And you're assuming that they're in this great relationship and everything is fine. Because when you see them in their couple setting,
Mhm. Yeah.
the performance,
Yep.
right?
With the mask on.
Yeah, it looks
Yep.
like, yeah, that's a regular good old couple. Look at them going to dinner. Look at them driving in the same car.
Mhm.
What you don't get to witness is the shouting and the screaming
Yeah.
that occurs behind the closed doors and
Yeah.
the frustration
The
and the
getting
anger.
drunk and picking a fight.
Yes, all those things that could potentially happen behind the closed doors. And
Mhm.
that's why, we make this podcast so that people could listen and hear maybe what they're experiencing.
Mhm.
And if they're ready to
Yeah. Yeah,
to
it's
do
a
something
tough
about it.
one. Like it's a tough one to admit to yourself that you chose an abusive relationship.
Oh my gosh. It felt like if someone had died. Um, literally, no, right? Um, when I first discovered that this was me, um, participating in my own demise,
Mhm.
because you say to yourself after a while when you discover, okay, this is what's happening. Now I've learned about it. Then you try to fix it.
Mhm.
Then you realize they don't want to fix it. They like it like this.
Yep.
And then you're like, so I mean, all this time I had nothing. There was no real relationship. There
Mhm.
was just me being abused. And then you realize that you were the one who was trying to love functionally,
Mhm.
and they were the one, who was loving you in this narcissistic personality disorder setting.
Yep.
And then you say to yourself, but was I really being functional? Because you thought
Mm.
you were.
Yeah.
And then it hits you, no, you're actually being codependent. You too are dysfunctional.
Mhm.
You need to fix some stuff with yourself.
Mhm.
And that, my friends, is really hard to deal with.
Especially since they don't want you to take care of yourself. If you take care of yourself, you're being selfish.
Yes,
So they make you feel like a piece of shit for doing
absolutely.
something for yourself.
Yeah. And that's how they get me. You know, you think that for once in your life, now that you've discovered this thing, we can work on this. I love you.
Mm.
Let's just get help.
But they refuse to go to therapy.
Why would we need therapy?
Yeah, we can work this out on our own.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need no therapy. Look, see, look, I promise you I'm gonna make it better. Oh, I did this to you? Don't worry, I would never do that to you again. Yeah, I love you. And then you go back all the time thinking, okay,
Hmm.
good. Then it works for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. That's the cycle, the love bombing, and then the
You're hoovering,
I think
to
that's the last
discard
one, the
you.
discard.
Yeah, so they threaten you now with leaving or make like
Hmm.
they withdraw from you, so they stop speaking to you.
Hmm.
No more touching, no more intimacy. There's this like silence, passive aggressive silence in the
Hmm.
home, and so they make you feel bad about it.
Yeah, like you did something wrong. That's
And
why
all
you're
of a
not
sudden, they
talking.
start talking to you again, like if nothing ever
Yes,
happened.
it's so yeah.
Right.
They have that amazing ability to just seemingly forget
Yeah.
that they called you a bunch of names the night before. Oh, I'm sorry. Now that makes it all better.
Yes.
Um, oh, you haven't gotten over that?
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, I like this analogy. So you take a plate
Hmm.
and smash it on the ground. Look at it on the ground in a million pieces. Say sorry to that plate. What does it do?
Nothing. It's a play.
Nothing. It's still broken in a million pieces.
Yeah.
But somehow they think that the sorry should put the plate back together.
Ah,
It should fix it.
uh,
That's not
sorry
how it
fixes
works.
everything. Got
Hmm.
you now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't have to change their behavior or anything. They just have to say sorry.
Yeah, and
And
they've
then it
gotten
should be
over it somehow.
exactly. I've gotten over it. Why haven't you?
Yeah. Well, that's really traumatizing when I really think back now. It's like, yeah, that just gave me like the weirdest creepy feeling.
Hmm. Yeah, I experienced that many, many times. Like I'm the one holding on to it. I'm holding it over his head. How can we get past this? How can we move on if you keep holding this over my head? but they've never genuinely apologized for it and they haven't changed their behavior.
No, no, they
But you
don't.
should just be over it.
Yeah, you should just be flying like how you used to be.
Mhm.
But now you know what you know.
Yep, now
You
your
could
eyes are starting
never
to
be the same
open.
again. You
Nope.
know, you remember the time when you really started to like notice the little things?
Oh man. I near the end there, I picked up on every the tiniest little
Yeah.
things. And I'm like, "Okay, I'm not falling for that. I know this game now. I'm smarter now. I've learned these things. I'm not going to fall for that now." Like the gray rock method,
Yeah.
like I talked about in the previous episode.
Yeah, I better learn that one. That was tough for me.
That one was really, really, really hard to
Yeah,
follow through with.
because like I was so accustomed to explaining stuff,
Mhm.
and what they would do is they would feign that they need help, like things that they could figure out for themselves. They would come and ask
Mhm.
you, present you with a problem, and as a
Mhm.
codependent person, you know, you like to help.
Yeah, you just want to help.
They play on your empathy. They play
Mhm.
on the fact that you like to help people.
Yep.
So they're always helpless in some little moment to make you feel good about yourself
Mhm.
whilst you help them. And then
Yeah.
you fall for the trick. And then
Mhm.
once you start engaging with them, now they've hoovered you back in, they've got you again.
Yep.
So doing when I first learned about the gray rock method, I like not saying anything. Oh man, literally, I left teeth marks in my tongue because I would bite my tongue just trying not to say
It's
anything.
so hard.
Yes.
Yeah, but once you get it down, oh, the best thing ever.
Yeah, because you can see everything then. You see when you stop talking, when you stop engaging at
Mhm.
that level, you know, and you just grunt or
Yeah.
do the little hand signal things, and then they start to like, at first they're like, and then it turns into anger, then it goes back to happy, then it goes to sad, and you see them cycle through all these weird
Mhm.
emotions, and you're
Oh.
like, what is happening? Who is
Yeah.
this person? They go from crazy to happy to crying
Oh
to
man.
angry, like
Oh
all
wow.
in the same like conversation, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah, so that reminds me of a time. Again, it was near the end when I wasn't showing any emotion because I had realized that that's what they feed on. So he was sitting there, he's talking, he's saying how upset he is that, I'm pulling away and blah blah blah. But I'm pulling away because I'm realizing I'm being abused.
Hmm.
And in his mind, I was pulling away because I was cheating.
Mm.
Because, according to him, as soon as I started going to therapy, our relationship started on its downward spiral, which is absolutely ridiculous when you think about it. So, anyways, he was talking about how upset he was that, we're not the way we used to be, blah, 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 blah. I saw him flip a frickin' switch of crying, like on and off, like 6 times in that conversation.
Hmm.
Like, he would start crying, trying to get my sympathy, trying
Hmm.
to get my emotions out.
Hmm.
I stayed stone cold the whole time, and then like a light switch, he stopped crying, and then it went to anger, a frustration, and then he would go flip the switch back, going like this happens 6 times in a row,
Wow.
and then I realized, wow, like they have full control over this shit.
Yeah.
Like they can flip it on and off.
And the
It's
flipping
not.
on and off is all about you. They're trying to get
Yes,
you to respond
they want
to
to
them.
trigger you.
Yes.
And when it doesn't work, then they don't know what to do.
That's where the anger part really then emerges, and then
Yes.
then they just go in. And it's like, then all of a sudden it's like, it's over. That's the end of it. That's when I realized there was nothing.
Mhm.
That's
Like
when it was like easier to leave now because you realize if I don't get out of this,
mhm.
if I don't get out of this is not going to end well. And I wish I could refer to it. Maybe we'll throw it in the description, you know, the little thing below on YouTube or whatever.
Mhm.
There was an episode from Dr. Romani where she talked about what happens if you stay with a narcissist. And she said, you know, a lot of people think that they can live with it. They just decide it's too late now. I've been in this relationship for so long.
Mhm.
I'll just let them be themselves and I'll just be myself, which you can never really be with them.
Nope.
And she explained very carefully, this person will kill you.
Mm.
You are going to die of either misery or you're going to get sick or something is going to happen to you because you're
Mhm.
not in a healthy situation.
Yep.
And then when you think that that's when this love is going to emerge and they are going to take care of you, they leave you.
Mhm.
And this is a person with a lot of experience, as a psychologist,
Mhm.
dealing with this issue. I was mortified when I saw that thing. That for
Wow.
me was my absolute turning point when I watched that video. I was
Wow.
like, they do what?
Mhm.
Um, no, I'm not letting that happen to me.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, right, the reason we're in it is because we don't take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
The reason we genuinely do not leave, other than all the things that we told you for the last 40 minutes, the reality of it is we do not take care of ourselves.
Yep.
We were programmed to be codependent and to make other people happy. We become people pleasers, and we've been told it's selfish to take care of ourselves.
Mhm.
And we stay in these abusive relationships for that reason.
Yep.
When you start to take care of yourself, when you start to
Mm.
go to counseling
Yep.
and you get yourself some help and you realize that you're not a whole person, it will hurt.
Mhm.
You will feel like crap.
Yep.
But if you do something about it and you
Yeah.
learn to regulate your emotions, you learn how to deal with other people, you become emotionally intelligent.
Mhm.
Um, this will change your life
Yep.
and then you can truly get out of it.
Yep. Like if you're in one of these, if you think that maybe you might be in a relationship like this, test it. Do something for yourself. Start going to
Yeah,
counseling. Gauge the reaction. What's the reaction? That'll tell you everything you need to know.
absolutely. Thanks for
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
I hope we've been helpful. Again, Michelle, thanks for your great questions.
Yeah. Thanks, Michelle. And